Welcome to the Real Estate Show. From buying to selling and everything in between. Rochester's home for everything real estate. And now, your hosts from the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. It's Anthony Butera and Jason Mancuso.
Hey, everybody. Anthony and Jason here. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. It is episode 106, the first episode of 2021. And is this the first episode after the Bills clinch the playoff spot?
I believe it is, Mark.
This is a big episode.
Yeah, big episode. Buffalo Bill. Anthony's completely changed his tune.
Well, there's a direct correlation from us doing this podcast and the success of the Buffalo Bills.
You're right.
I mean,
since we've started this,
started when we started this. Yeah. So you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome, Western.
Welcome, Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love seeing Cuomo's not going to the game now. It was like 40,000 people signed the petition. So great.
What the hell? I think he was probably advised, like, listen, dude, like, you're in Buffalo. If you go and it's snowing, you're going to get pelted with snowballs, and that's if you're lucky.
Right.
Because if they don't pelt you with snowballs, they're probably going to be like 15-year-old Ked sneakers.
Yeah, what was it in
22-ounce cans?
Wasn't it in Philadelphia? They were like throwing batteries at people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got batteries.
We can get some batteries.
So they're letting people into the stadium, right, for the playoff game?
Yeah.
6,000 or something. Are you guys going? Did you get your hands on some tickets?
Oh, thank you.
Not going.
I saw like tickets are like, resale are like $13,000.
Yeah, and I guess there's a lot of fraudulent stuff. You can't just assign these tickets because you got to follow their protocol and you got to show your negative COVID test. And I'm good. I'm 40.
Yeah.
So, and I can't believe I'm saying that because, here's the, oh my God, it's my life. I rotted in that stadium from like the age of like 16 till a few years ago. I never missed a home game, even as bad as they were. And I remember like all the suffering for my soul and my liver that I went through. And
I was going to say, you suffered and paved the way for the new generation of success. So Thank you, sir.
Yeah, this is the screwed generation because the generation before us had a good Bills team.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we had to sit through the crap, and now the new generation has a good Bills team.
Yeah, now I'm too old to enjoy it.
Our 20s, yeah. Now we're too old to live it up.
Yep.
Coming from a degenerate perspective, I guess.
Yeah. Now when I get blackout drunk, it's like 4 days after I need before I get my mind back.
And I hate that they got the 1 o'clock Saturday. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. They got screwed. It'll be fun. Better win. Better be talking about it next week. So.
Yeah, we will talk about that. But today we're talking about Capitol Hill, right?
Yeah, let's get into that.
So does that bring up the property value or does that bring it down?
It brought the I did a Zestimate on the White House that lost 10% value.
Yeah, you could pick that up for a steal right now for
you
sure.
could steal it. It's actually I found it on it's a pre-foreclosure.
Yeah. Biden's getting a deal on it.
Yeah,
I knew he would.
Lucky guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
He didn't have to put 20% down either.
No. Now today we want, similar national type conversation. I've been seeing a lot of headlines recently of, an affordability crisis kind of brewing, meaning like, again, similar trend of what we've talked about the last 3-4 years of, these home prices going up. It's not just in Rochester, it's certainly at a national level. So, affordability meaning like, what's it cost or, what can you afford if you're a homeowner, right? And, when prices go up, in theory, it can be less affordable because if you got $100,000 added onto property value or a purchase price compared to a year ago. That's a big problem. I wanted to kind of address that this is a national thing more than anything. Not to say that pricing isn't going up here in the Rochester market or in this region, but we're a much lower price point compared to, like, if you're sitting in any major metro market, Boston, New York, LA, whatever, and your average price point of 5, 6, 700,000 increased $100,000 or more, in what seems like overnight in the case of a year. Yeah, that's an affordability problem. Here, I actually pulled the stats. 2019, so total sales by realtors that are in the business here locally. 2019, compiled all that data. The average price point for our market was $159,000 and change. 2020, it went up to $176,000 and change. So that's a massive jump in terms of $17,000 of an increase, right? But we're talking about a $176,000 home compared to $500,000, $750,000 or more, or even in that, whatever the luxury market for us, 300,000-400,000 and above. It's different than what our averages kind of produce in terms of payments and down payment requirements for the consumers here. I'm not saying it hasn't gone up, but it's just we still gotta drive home the opportunity with news coming out today of lowest interest rate ever that just hit.
I think here, like locally in New York State in general, like if there were a crisis, we've been living in it, and that is it's the property tax affordability, right? I mean,
Sure.
That's what drives our monthly payments. When you break down your, especially now with these low interest rates, right? Like when you break down where your monthly payment's going from an escrow analysis, right? You're seeing a big chunk of that is your taxes.
Right.
I mean, you're over $300,000 in assessed value. Like if you're not there, you're close to $12,000 a year in taxes. It's a big nut. You add that onto healthcare for a lot of people. That's the challenge, right? I mean, healthcare and taxes. That's like half your freaking income, more than half.
Yeah. I mean, I think the message I want to get across is a consumer in Rochester, New York, or anywhere around here, just reading the national headlines, which again, I want to bring this up because I'm seeing them just, in different news sources of, affordability is becoming a problem with real estate. Don't just read that headline and think like, oh man, missed the boat to buy a home in Rochester. It's still a great time to buy. I mean, and it's proven by the demand that's out there that's fueling these, multiple offer situations and bidding wars and everything like that. So every situation's unique, and certainly if you only plan on buying a home and staying there 2 years, then we've really got to dive into the risk of that. But I'm willing to bet my career, save this sound clip, 10 years from now that, you're not going to have any problems. Like I don't think $176,000 10 years from now is going to go back down to 150 or below or whatever the example is. Am I saying that's going to turn into $350,000? No, but you just got to keep in mind that you buy a home, you have a mortgage, you build equity within that by making the payments. After 10 years, you got a big chunk of that loan, shaved down, and it would take a lot to be underwater at that point. I don't know, Mark. Let me ask you, Mark. Like from a consumer standpoint, like, what are your thoughts? What's your gut feeling, type of thing?
I'm at the point though where like if I'm making a decision on buying a home, because I already own a home, and my decision is just based on necessity than anything. Sure. So whether something's super affordable or I'm not looking like if let's say, we have 3 kids. Let's say Lily got pregnant and it's triplets. And we're making this bad boy, what is it? An 8-person family.
Wait, so in this scenario, you're the father?
It doesn't matter.
You're the father.
I'm taking care of them.
All right.
I'm not looking at that situation and going, "Ooh, in 3 years, it might be a little better time to get a new home." I'm going based on other factors of necessity, and what I need.
Well, I think that's a great thing to bring up. Is like, don't make this major financial decision. I don't know if I want to say on anything but necessity. But if you don't need to do something, then don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole, right?
Yeah.
But here's where I think that the headlines come into play is like what's going on nationally, and the price increase and what it now costs to buy this, whatever you need, 5-bedroom home or more because of this scenario. That problem may overrule your necessity because you can't afford it now. In Rochester, personal financial situation, it's like, okay, if it's a difference of 150 to 175, that's probably not going to break your back.
If you have 3 kids already and your wife's pregnant with triplets, I feel like you've got so many problems. I would probably pull myself out of the workforce. I would. I would.
It's $600 extra with the stimulus checks,
Yeah.
This is big money we're talking about.
Listen, if you're looking after 6 kids, I'd say ride that wave. Ride the government assistance wave till you die. You're never gonna amass any wealth. You just got to figure out how to feed these little bastards, or 3 of them in your case.
Nah, see, this is coming from somebody without kids. You got it all wrong because now you got 6, laborers.
Yeah.
Build your wealth through these kids working their ass off for you.
Where Mark lives, that's actually true. That's 3 more bodies plowing fields and.
Yeah.
God, that's crazy.
Well, you're wrong, sir.
What is it about Rochester that makes? We're saying that it's not as affected.
Definitely not as affected.
It's just I hate to say cheaper, but it's just a cheaper market.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing when pricing increases substantially. You add on whatever that increase is, 15, 20% year over year is a massive increase.
Yeah, when your average
just
sales
as
price,
a percentage, but under 200,000, it's a lot less than if you're $500,000 to $1 million. Now you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in play potentially, and that has more of an effect on your wallet than 10, 15 grand over a 30-year mortgage term. And again, to beat a dead horse, the rate is the opportunity. Different conversation if the rates spike, right? But for right now, it's like, don't wait for this market to change and for pricing to go down, because I think that's a risky proposition in terms of it may not happen. There may be a little adjustment if, shit hits the fan, but I don't think we're going to lose like all the equity that we've gained pricing wise in the last 3, 4, 5 years. So
my whole mindset is like, what could I do now that if I don't, I'm going to regret it next year or in 5 years, right? So like my whole mindset is like, buy as much as you can at these current interest rates. You could always borrow against it down the road. It's just like, it's crazy. And I kind of like, I nag Jason all the time whenever a house comes up that he's more conservative than I am. It's just like, we need to scoop up as much stuff as possible, because I'm thinking about like the homes that we could have bought just 3 years ago that today are worth 40% more in a 3-year span. And it's like, I don't want to have to live in regret like that again. Like, we've been so undervalued for so long that we're foolish if we're not scooping up as much property as we can.
And yeah,
Especially at these interest rates, if we have to finance it.
Right. And it's, that's the investment angle of things, but just, same train of thought, treat the home that you're living in as an investment, as an asset. And
yeah,
that point that Anthony made really gets heightened once you're 10 years from now. I'm telling you, it would take major, a nuclear type event, whether literal or not, to that example, to really have this market be a like a South Florida or Las Vegas or California where you lose 50% of home value. It's just anything can happen, but I'm willing to bet it's not. So you're protected in this market, even with the crazy increases that we've had recently.
So what's going on crazy since this pandemic is these property owners in New York City, like specifically, I was reading an article on New York, and like rents are going for like 25 cents on the dollar compared to where they were a year ago. And like all of a sudden, in cases like that, there's this new affordability because after this pandemic, again, you're going to see New York. It's going to be a different city. It's never going to be exactly the same. I don't know why all these years. We've had the world all these years. All these people had to travel into the city to sit at that cubicle as opposed to their home office, right? Like that's never going to look the same again. So things are going to get interesting. But as a country, to still have an average sales price locally in the 160s, like
it's crazy.
It's cheap.
I think that's that's what you take away from this conversation. Is like we're I like to think we're a medium-sized market, and it's just in comparison to what the rest of the country is. Like we got it good even with the taxes. It's just because again, New York as an example, that's probably one of the major metro markets that's going to suffer the most as a result of everything going on. But you look at the tri-state area around it, and I was speaking with somebody recently who's in Connecticut. Used to commute to New York City, so that I don't know, Hartford area, I guess. And they're looking for a house. You got to have a $500,000 to $750,000 budget, and that budget, increased by $100,000 in the matter of 6 months to a year. Yeah, that's where it's difficult. That's what this affordability, topic relates to, is these markets where the average price point is, the average price point's $400,000. That's Jason, equivalent to the $150,000 home here, and they have $1.5 million homes that are common as well. So what's kind of guarding us from feeling it here locally. I'm wondering what would have happened, because our average sales price here locally, it's gone up like $18,000 in the last couple of years. Last year.
Yeah, just this last year. So with that being said, what would have happened if values went up that much and the rates went up to, let's just say 6%? We'd have an issue at that point.
Yeah. I think it would be an issue more so of the market, not so much bottoming out from a price decrease at that point. I think certainly there'd be an effect of declining prices because there's just not enough demand.
Yeah.
But it would just be our industry would be dry, in terms of deals being done, because when that happens, that's the key, right? And that's the opportunity for now, is when that happens, it's just going to be dry for a period, because the consumer demand is going to say, F this, I'm not buying at this rate and this pricing. And then they're really going to sit on the sidelines and see what happens, and either wait for an adjustment in pricing, or, if I'm right, realize that pricing isn't going to drop off a cliff And then, back to Mark's point of like, okay, we've got a necessity. We need to do this, and it is what it is. We're, living in the time. So.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys have, first episode of 2021, do you have predictions for this year, Rochester market, similar to last year? What do you think?
I feel like we're going to experience more seasonality this year than we've seen in a long time. And I say that meaning I really anticipate we're probably going to do, I would say 60% of our business in probably a 4.5 to 5 month time. Meaning like, if you're waiting to list, I don't know if it makes that much sense. If you're waiting to buy, don't wait to buy. I'm really telling you that right now. And I know that like the thought of, well, there's just nothing out there. It's going to feel like you'll see more homes for sale, but your opportunity to actually buy one is going to diminish because it's going to get so competitive in a short period of time. It's going to feel drastic because we had the holidays where there's always a little seasonality. No one's crazy about listing during the holidays. Now we've got this pandemic. Like right now, sellers are just like, I'm not saying all of them, but there's a big portion are just not crazy about having strangers looking at their home and touching their door handles. And you know what I mean? So there's a delay. So we're going to see a surge of listings come probably March, April. And at that point, it's going to be super, super competitive again. Values I don't think are going to go down in any area this year. I think that the post is probably going to get moved a little bit again this summer. Yeah. As far as values go, those ceilings.
I agree. I mean, I think we've got, what's happened in the last 6 months is getting caught at the first half of that, getting caught up from the lockdown last year and all the business being done then. And then the fall was really like an extreme seasonal period where we usually see it slow down, but it was very slow. And now we're starting to, the good news is, like, I was telling everybody that we work with this week, like I went to bed Sunday night, coming in Monday for, the first day after the holidays are over, right? Like that, historically speaking, is always like, you can feel the uptick in activity. So I went to bed Sunday night, like, is it going to be crickets on Monday or is the phone going to start ringing? The phone started ringing. That's good. So that tells me like that the seasonality trends are going to continue. But I do think Anthony's right in that it's not going to be total gangbusters right out of the gate like it usually is. It will pick up starting now into the spring. But then again, Mark, to your point, necessity kicks in, or, whether you want to call it necessity combined with just like the assumption of you have to buy and sell a home in the springtime kicks in, and it's going to be batshit crazy for a 3-month period. I think a lot of business will still get done in the summertime, as usual up through Labor Day, and then the fall kicks in again, and we got that seasonal effect. So, Anthony kind of mentioned like 60% of the business being done, in a 3-month period. You've got another, let's call it 30% of the business that'll be done like now through March, April, and then also June, July, August, and then depending on what happens in the world at that point, I guess. But the fall seasonality effect will always remain true in my mind. But yeah, I mean, I think we're same market we've been in the last few years, if not more extreme. So don't think like 2021 is going to be the year that things change. And again, all interest rate driven. Every indicator says that the rates aren't going to substantially spike this year or even next year. You may see it start to tick, but it's not going to, go up to 5, in the next 2 years, at least what the powers that be are saying. So, if you're waiting for pricing change in order to buy a home, it ain't happening anytime soon. So you got to decide on what's necessary for your life. But when it does happen, I can promise you're going to be looking at a much higher interest rate, and that's where I think you're going to be kicking yourself. So.
Yep. careful what you wish for. You could wake up in the middle of a field in Chile with 6 kids and billy goats and get fired from a radio station and have to, I mean, the world can turn upside down.
Churchville.
Okay. Oh, sorry. What did I say? Right?
Chile. How dare you?
Oh, how dare I? That's right. Yeah. Forgot the snobs of Churchville.
No, Chile's big now. Chile's we just got a Taco Bell. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
A sign of a booming population.
No, it's a sign of trying to make the migrant workers feel at home.
I've been there like 5 times. It's only been open since the 30th of December.
You are Taco Bell.
Yeah.
All right. Well, check out AnthonyButeroTeam.com. You can subscribe to the Real Estate Show there. We're on YouTube
and go Bills.
And go Bills. Yes. All right, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Show. Find us on Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. If you're looking to sell or buy, talk to the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. Visit AnthonyButeroTeam.com.